Welcome to the NECROMUNDA Secundus challenge, where we spend 48 hours in the depth of Secundus. Can we paint this entire box set in one weekend? We all look very confident. Let's find out. For the challenge, I've enlisted some elite hobbyists in the form of Lawrence and Joe, and you can find their Instagram handles here. If you do want to follow them, highly suggest you do. We start the build, and I do cheat a little bit here. I did want to convert the gang up a little bit more because I was a little unsatisfied with what Games Workshop gave us in the box set. So I did start the build the day before, and I cut my finger in recompense. I'm sorry, this is Universal Karma telling me I shouldn't have done that. But I am preparing the Malstrain cultists using the Cruel Boy set, Cowdo set and Gene Stealer cultist set. Mashed all together, cut up, avoid cutting your finger, and glue together. Secundus is such an evocative setting. The artwork is shot through with moody blues and hot pink magentas. Everything looks like it's sunk underwater, the figures only dimly seen. And I very much wanted to translate this sense of an abandoned hive onto the miniatures themselves. The sense of growth left unchecked. What is in the darkness? Basing sets the scene. It is the context of the piece. I never ever use clear bases. And it also adds some variation to the bases, which are mass produced, and adds a little bit of height to miniatures so I can promote some into more prominence. Leaders, the Malstrains for example. And I did want to introduce more natural elements, bark, lichen, to the bases to show that nature is recapturing the hive, like mushrooms grown on a corpse. This is what the gang looks like once we've added all the elements and glued the miniature onto the base, ready for priming. Let's have a look and see how Vansar are doing. Strolling along, no doubt. Okay, a little bit of a miscalculation. The Vansar kit took a lot longer to make than first anticipated. In fact, it's taken the entire morning to make 8 of them, as well as the Malstrains. But this is really eating into our time. How on earth did it take that long to build the Vansar? We gotta get something to eat. What do you get 3 hungry artists? Pizza. But thanks to Uber delivery, we got to eat this instead. After what you could kind of call lunch, we pitched in and managed to get the Vansar complete. Now you'll notice a head change. I don't like how healthy the regular Vansar kit looks, so we swapped them out for custom Delac heads from Forge World. They're emaciated, sickly, and in my opinion give a much better impression of a very tech-heavy gang. Finally, we are ready to paint these things. We undercoat all the miniatures with black primer and then we cover everything with magenta. We are concentrating on the underpainting principle. Underpainting is a slightly more evolved form of pre-shading. Instead of painting the pieces of the miniature individually, we instead try and see the scene as a whole. In effect, we are painting everything but the miniature, and we are placing the ambient tones on the miniature first before painting any other elements. This ensures a consistent result across the entire of the miniature, of the entire of the box set, and it gives some really nice moody atmospheric effects across the entire range. Please visit the Patreon to find out more of the principles that guide underpainting and how to practically apply it not only with an airbrush, but with a brush as well. You can sign up for as little as $1, but $15 gives you access to all of our back history back library. Miles, I hear you ask in the comments section, are you sure you apply this to every miniature? Yes, I am. You can differentiate materials with how you apply the airbrush. You want harsher transitions for armor, so that simply means adding more layers again and again and again, more targeted, smaller areas that we're concentrating with the airbrush, as opposed to more general sweeps with the airbrush from slightly further away to develop soft transitions like cloth, skin. Even at this very early stage, we can start to differentiate the textures of the miniature and tell different stories. Oh, and don't forget the base. Don't forget the base either. That's something I forgot in my initial sweep. Gotta hit that base to give that nice ambient bluish tone. Unlike the Gene Stealers, the Vansar receive an additional layer of a bright lime green to push the highlight. We have to keep in mind, we have to keep reminding ourselves this is a challenge, a very tight challenge, 48 hours to produce this box set. There will be sacrifices along the way, and we need a very clear process. And the process I've developed as a commission painter to get things over the line, to get things painted, airbrush first to establish those base tones. Brushwork to establish main details, face, purity seals, OSL, anything you want to drag the attention of the viewer to. And then finally oils, and these do the real heavy lifting in your work. Oils, they help establish shadows, they help weather the miniature, and they do give more of a lived-in feel to these miniatures, perfect for a Necromunda box set. The palette of the Malstrain cult and the Vansar tech hunters are wildly different. The Malstrain gang revolves around muted tones with sharper shifts in value on the skin. This means the skin of brighter tones towards the top, more white, is added, but plunge rapidly into turquoise magenta, whereas the cloth has a broader range of light. This gives the impression of the skin being slightly clammy, sweaty, almost wet. The alien fusion of humanity and alien is misaligned. Work went long into the night, and around 10ish we decided to call it for the day. I already know what the comments are going to say. I would have stayed up all night today. This is a challenge. Why did you go to sleep? Bro, I'm 37 years old. I'm old. I get tired easily. I asked these two friends down for a weekend painting challenge. We were making mistakes, Bendit. We were tired, we were irritable, we needed some sleep. So instead of forcing ourselves to do an overnighter, we called it to hit the game fresh in the morning. Sunday morning, bright and early in beautiful sunny South Wales. This is where we oil up our miniatures. But on the side, let's talk about oils for a second. Oil paint should be an essential tool in any painter's arsenal. They're quick, they're convenient, they're great to use, and they're idiot-proof. To use oil paints, just go to your local hobby store, not your Warhammer store, your local hobby store, something that sells artist-grade oil paint. Grab a variety of colours that you like, dark browns, blacks, greens, throw in a couple of magentas and yellows in there just for fun, and then buy yourself some artist grade thinner. You don't need to use specialty brushes. I simply use brushes that have become, a little bit frayed at the end. They're coming to the end of their life cycle, and I use those for my oil paints. Once I have my super duper oil paints in front of me, I thin them down to the consistency of drawing ink. So they are quite thin, but they're potent. And when they run off the bristles of the brush, they find all the little gaps and recesses. Now before this, I have gloss varnished the entire set. This doesn't so much protect the paint job, it's not a save point, rather it makes the paint more predictable in where it flows. It goes into all the gaps, the creases, the recesses, and even though the paint is sticking on some of those top panels, that is perfect for me because not only does it define the shadows of the piece, it also helps the weathering stage. We need to allow a little time for the oil to cure. Give it around 20 minutes before I take a Q-tip, lightly soak it in Sans or thinner, artist grade thinner, or hell, if the paint is still malleable, you can just use it neat. You don't need any thinner on top. And I lightly drag it across the surface of the miniature, leaving the oil in the recesses. This not only gives a wonderful matte appearance to the armour, but it also gives a much needed lived-in experience to the armor. It has grit, it has dirt, it has those incidental details that are so hard to reproduce with regular acrylic paints. The oil paints ground the subject. I want to do it.
No, we just made up the time.
No, I want to do it.
No.
I want to do something dumb.
Please.
No, I'm in charge. We're doing it. In the time-sensitive challenge, yeah, of course, let's add checkers over everything. Now, this isn't as much of a time sink as you may think, because I got this wonderful little metallic tool that you can buy through the website that allows you to cut up a lot of squares very, very quickly. It has the indented recesses. You can run the blade of your knife along, and it creates, well, hundreds of little squares very, very quickly. So I whack these on the Malstrain gang in order to add another airbrush layer of yellow. There is method to the madness, I promise you. When it comes to the speed paint challenge, necessarily there will be casualties along the way. The belt buckle might not be painted, you might not add that extra gleam of luster to your metallics. But you can fool the eye, you can fool people into thinking the project is a little bit more developed than it actually is. The time-saving measure of the metallic tool cannot be understated. Once I have these checkerboards on top, I can simply airbrush them using a mustard tone, because yellow underneath the blue influence will turn mustard. And this will give the overall appearance of the gang a much more polished appearance at the end. We got 2 hours left, Lawrence. 2 hours. Paint! Paint! Paint it! With 2 hours left of the challenge, I am cool, I'm calm, I'm collected. My painters have complete and utter faith in me. We white out any OSL area, then use the airbrush to add a hot pink over the top of it. This feeds into the initial design brief right at the very beginning of the weekend that we wanted to use a triad of yellow, magenta, teal. And my god, does this really, really set this spiral off. We were a little bit apprehensive over which colour we wanted to use at this point, whether it should be more of a hot orange or magenta. My god, just use magenta. Nothing else like it. In fact, this was so successful, we decided to use this on all the bases and even adding it to the miniatures as an underglow, as an underlighting effect. We also added some fluorescent paint onto the base of the miniature. This is fluorescent ink that we're working on there with a little bit of gloss varnish to make sure it clings into the recesses of the mini. and then we'll add in a magenta LED diode, or what looks like one at the very end of the process. After we've blocked this in white, we take our airbrush, put it over the top, and voila, we have a beautiful, ugly Malstrain thing. With a few minutes left of the hobby challenge, I decided to add a couple of extra details to the base. We're coming rapidly on the end of the challenge. Are we going to get it under the line? Are we going to make it? Are we going to be able to black room these bases?
Completely exhausted.
Oh, Secundus, the Secundus that was. Well, we did it. We managed it. I want to say a big thank you to Lawrence and to Joe for coming down and letting me use their paint shaker. I genuinely couldn't have done it without them. So thank you so much. We have to discuss what we're doing for our next challenge now. But shh, secret, because we haven't decided yet. Keep the mystery. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. We'll see you in the next challenge. If you are salivating for more Secundus, up on the Patreon right now is part 1 of the Masterclass series, where we delve much more in depth into the color theory, into the application, and into the lore and the creation of the conversions used in this video. Thank you very much, guys. I'll see you soon.